Okay, folks, top of the morning to you. I know it's St. Patrick's Day night, and pinch me, I'm not wearing green, but I just saw a very powerful movie, great performance by Keke Palmer as the title character of Alice. And I believe this movie, I guess you would say, I think it's more to say it's inspired by the life of a lady named May Miller that I was not familiar with until after the movie. I got on my phone and tried to figure out what's this movie based on, who is it based on. And the answer was this lady, May Miller, who apparently escaped from an illegal slavery situation in 1963 to discover that she was being held illegally. So I say this movie titled Alice was not about May in particular, but like I said, it seemed to be inspired by, although not based on. That being said, I probably just told you what this movie's about. Uh, I think it's one of those movies that I read the brief description on the app, as they call it, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to see this movie. I tend to see most movies in the theater. I mean, I haven't seen Sing 2 because I refuse to see a sequel when I haven't seen the first one. And I'm not a huge animation fan uh, across the board. And I'm not a huge kids movie fan anymore because I'm not a kid. I know a lot of people like to finger bang themselves to Disney films and so forth, but I just don't. Although I did like Jungle Cruise. So let's go back to Alice here. Movie theater's piping. I'm going to have to. A lot of people. A lot of people at the theater tonight. I don't know. There was a series of new films being released tonight. There was an X horror film that was the first night here, and I saw that the tickets were pretty sold for that. And then there was another movie, another action thriller film that had a lot of tickets sold. The theater I was in, Alice, had a decent crowd, a smaller crowd. Probably this is the type of movie that needs some word of mouth buzz to really sell some tickets. So I'm happy to provide that. Keke Palmer plays Alice, the lead character. This very strong performance. Uh, I would say Academy Award worthy, definitely. Although the reality is, because of the placement of this film in the calendar as far as being released, that might be tough because this movie was released early. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's eligible. Maybe it's nominated. I don't know. But I think the timing is off for award season. But great performance from Keke Palmer, who's familiar to me, but I couldn't tell you everything she's done. I think I saw that she was in Barbershop 2. Uh, so, there's too many people. Too many people around me. So, in any event, I got to the movie theater late. There was an odd situation at the restaurant I had dinner at tonight. Comments and questions are welcome, by the way. Odd situation. I guess I should just talk about it now because it explains my lateness to the film, because I hate being at the movies late. I would say I probably missed about 5 minutes at the beginning of the movie, but I didn't want to not go. I got to roll this window down now. It's just very frustrating. Oh my God. Hang with me. No. Now. But anyway, I go to the goddamn buffet, just a fucking restaurant. And, the Golden Corral kind of has a bad reputation up the Eastern Starboard. I think the last time I was in one, before most recently, was in Maryland with my good buddy. And he picked me up at the airport. We go to this fucking Golden Corral. And suffice to say, it was not a good experience. Just was not a clean situation. So now I go to this goddamn Golden Corral down here. I think I've been about 8 times now to this Jacksonville Golden Corral, and it's actually fucking good because I can get some goddamn hot vegetables. It's very difficult to get hot vegetables in this town or anywhere. You can't go to a fast food restaurant and say, yes, I'd like a side of green beans. So you go to this fucking Golden Corral. It's pretty fun, you know what I mean? But today I have a weird experience. I'm just fucking shoveling food down my neck. I want to get out of there to see this fucking movie. I'm walking back to my table. I just served myself a very nutritious plate, some fucking steamed carrots, some green beans, some, I don't know if it was okra or some collard greens, just a bunch of green stuff, some macaroni and cheese, some pot fucking roast for protein, all these wonderful things. I'm wearing the blue gloves. I'm not wearing a mask, but I'm wearing a blue glove. That's my, case tonight. And I'm fucking walking to my table with this fucking plate of food. And some guy's calling out, sir, sir, sir. And I'm like, oh, God. So I turned and it's some asshole talking to me. So, it's like the guy's sitting there at a fucking table. He's got a bunch of empty plates. He looked like he's about 55 or 60. And he starts saying, sir, I see you with your blue gloves on. That's a good idea. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, yeah? He says, yeah, I've been sitting here. And so he's sitting with like a position so that he can watch people get their plates. Like he's the monitor, like the school monitor of the fucking empty plates and the fucking buffet. So he's like facing the buffet. He says, I've been watching people all night take 5 or 6 plates, look over 5 or 6 plates and then take one. Good idea wearing the gloves. I'm like, okay, thanks, asshole. I'm about to eat this goddamn food and you're telling me that all these plates have been molested. And then I'm like, I'm like, look, I'm blocking traffic. I hate being in the goddamn way of people. It's one of my pet fucking peeves. I don't like people waking up me from sleep. I don't like waking other people up from sleep. And I hate fucking being in the way of people. And I hate people being in my way. So this asshole with his goddamn storytelling is fucking me over. So then he says, so I want to hear a story. And I'm like, I'm like, ass fuck. I've got a plate of fucking food. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, there was this little girl who went up to the buffet and I said, hey, I can't hear bad food stories when I'm trying to eat. And then I just turned and went the fuck away from this asshole. And I hear him calling after me. It's not a bad food story. Well, fuck. I don't have time for your goddamn stories in the middle of the fucking Golden Corral restaurant. You fuck. So I can understand to a very small degree, like a 1,000 millionth of Alice's frustration when you're being held captive by some fuck that you don't care about. And in this case, it was just me trying to sit at my goddamn table without hearing a disgusting story at the fucking restaurant or about how goddamn molested the plates were. But for Alice and for this May Miller lady, they were held captive on this goddamn plantation in Georgia is when the movie Alice takes place. And unbelievably, see, you're always learning something about how fucked up our country is when it comes to what we call race relations. Of course, to me, I thought we were all in the human race, and I'm not trying to be cute, but I think that the what we refer to as race is a total misnomer from what I understand scientifically, because it's the melatonin in your skin. But I don't believe it's an actual race. Like there's not a white race or a black race or an Asian race. I think it's all the human race, and these divisions it just fucks things up further. So apparently, another thing I didn't know, apparently there was people, and I knew that like, okay, 10, 15 years after the Civil War, there was probably some places where, because if you think about it, the slaves, unless someone told them that they were free or came in freedom, how the fuck would they know? And these plantation owners are such fucks that they try to keep the information from the people. And in this movie, that's taken to the nth degree. And this is probably where I missed some information in the movie because I was in there 5 minutes late because of the aforementioned, buffet story. And I'm not trying to put my little frustration with this fuck compared to what Alice or the real lady went through. Obviously, I'm just making a point. It's what they call the fucking payoff in the storytelling industry. Okay, so or the circle back in the stand up world. So now I'm fucking watching this movie, and initially, like, see, I already knew the giveaway, like I knew where this was headed, but you or me as the audience member, we know the situation that these people are being held illegally. That they're, and the year is 1973. They don't even know what year it is, but the characters in the movie don't know. So they're thinking that the whole world is like this. They don't know anything about Canada, and it seems like they've been raised on this religious cult thing, like it's some type of backwoods religious thing that's going on. That's probably what I missed at the beginning of the film. So these poor people, they've lived and died for generations as what they call the domestics. They don't even use the term slave. They just use the term domestics. So they're this motorcycle guy. But you see, I'm not trying to stop him from riding his motorcycle. It annoys the fuck out of me, but I don't have dominion over that fuck. I can bitch about him, but let him ride. If he falls off and hurts his head, so be it. So the point is, I'm watching this goddamn movie, and initially you're just, it makes you very disgusted as a white person to see this shameful behavior. Getting some nice spam here from somebody. I just want to block that fuck. You know what I mean? And then watching this movie, and then the turn comes when, I don't want to give it all away, but basically there is an evil slave owner, evil guru, evil religious fuck, and basically through a turn of events, Alice gets free. She almost gets hit by a fucking truck. Actually, yeah, she almost gets hit by a car initially. Then she almost gets hit by a fucking truck. And then she has to, the guy who almost hits on the truck gets out of his truck. He's a nice guy who turns out to be named Frank. He's got his own problems in the world. But Frank basically brings her in. And actually, the movie, had some swerves that I didn't see coming, to be honest with you. So I don't want to give it all away. But I really liked the movie. I thought it was great. This Keke Palmer, definitely a great actress, a force to be reckoned with. I don't know if she's had another movie showcase like this. Maybe she has, maybe she hasn't. I don't know if Barbershop 2 had the emotional content of this. No offense, Ice Cube. I like this movie. I enjoyed it. But it kind of makes you angry, and then I'm leaving the fucking movie and I'm like, ah. And then, it's, you start thinking, well, what about this phone that I'm using? This phone that you're on now, or your computer, or your tablet. And if you read this Ashley Judd article, I think back in, I want to say 2007 or something, Ashley Judd wrote this op-ed about, I think she called them, or what they were called, conflict minerals, which are basically some of the ingredients, the minerals that go into making our phones, smartphones, and other stuff depend on these conflict minerals. But guess what? Those conflict minerals are basically raised or brought out of the earth by people in human slavery, according to that Ashley Judd op-ed, which is it's pretty old by now. So I'm gonna have to see if that thing is still online and to see if that information is still true, if there's been any fucking updates or any changes in that horrible situation. But we look at these things from the Civil War in the United States, or slavery times, or the fucking colonial times, and we think about all these goddamn atrocities. But then you look around and you see George Floyd getting a fucking knee on his neck, George Floyd from that those four fucks. And then how much has things changed? It's frustrating because as a civil, normal human being, you'd like everyone to have an equal opportunity in life. But it's obviously, we don't live in a fucking dream world. But at the same time, things could definitely be improved in a lot of ways, and they're not. So it's frustrating because what the fuck. So I'm bitching about it, but good movie, solid movie, good soundtrack. Stevie Wonder comes in. Some film references to Coffee, Pam Grier, and so on and so forth. So I enjoyed the film. I would recommend you go see it. There's other movie. X was the movie, the horror movie, and then some other fucking movie The Office or something. No, that The Office is a TV show, which I'll actually be doing an analysis of soon. I've drafted a friend of mine to do an analysis of The Office. But also, I did want to mention, and I've reached out to a few people, but apparently the timing's not working out for these guys. But if anyone wants to co-host a Scott Hall tribute hour, I'd like to do that. I don't know if I necessarily want to do it solo, though. So if anyone wants to be a co-host or special guest, maybe I'll just call it that, then please do. I do have a little bit of a physical thing going on right now. So my limited time, I can't talk as much as I'd like to. And right now, I'm going to call this thing a wrap. So in any event, I do say that this Alice movie is a big thumbs up from your buddy, Kiki Palmer. And most importantly, as the movie does give a dedication at the end, you just can't, I mean, I do believe it, but I hate to believe it. And I do believe, but I hate that it's a fact that there's people in the 20th century, meaning the 1900s, still kept in slavery by some fucks. So, if there's any type of justice in an afterlife or whatever the fuck, I hope that there is people get what they get. And, it's a very interesting conversation, but in any event, you know what I mean? So there you go, folks. I will call it a wrap. Alice, good movie. It makes you think.